Hi guys, my name is Nonema Tigela. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today let's talk about the suppressed docket, how two phone calls were used to bury the real case, Senzo Meyiwa trial. Every cover-up begins the same way, not with lies, but with selection. What to show, what to hide, what to elevate, what to bury. Today, we expose how two harmless phone calls were inflated into a conspiracy only after the real investigation was quietly locked away. This is the story of the second docket and why it had to disappear. There were two investigations, not one. Let's start with the fact that the state hopes we forget, and we won't. Two separate dockets existed for the same murder. Docket 375, compiled by Warrant Officer Meshach Maqhubo, involved also was Colonel Joyce Buthelezi, and recommended murder charges against Kelly Khumalo and other people that were inside the house with Senzo Meyiwa when he passed away. Contained evidence inconsistent with the current state narrative. Now let's talk about docket 636, the one that has a lead IO being Brigadier Gininda. The one presented in court, the one built around confessions, the one that avoids implicating anyone inside the house. This was not parallel investigation. This was institutional forklifting. Why does docket 375 why docket 375 was dangerous? Docket 375 did three fatal things. One, it pointed inward, not outward. Two, it questioned the intruder narrative. Three, it implicated people the state now shields. That means a lot of things, right? So that made it radioactive. So it wasn't challenged. It wasn't disproved. It was sidelined. No formal withdrawal, no judicial ruling, no explanation, just silence over it. Until Advocate Tifo was like, we are going to talk about this. Whether you people like it or not, we are going to talk about this. And now let's talk about the phone calls, a substitute narrative. That's where they enter. Once docket 375 was buried, a problem emerged. The state had no independent evidence trying to tie down the accused to planning the murder. So what was needed? Something technically neutral, emotionally powerful, easy to misunderstand, hard for the public to contextualize it. And then that is where enter two phone calls. Two, not 10, not 20, not the night before. Two calls months apart. That is where they came in with the planning now. How phone data replaced investigation. Here is pivot. Instead of proving motive, planning, agreement, execution, the state reframed the case around communication, association, suspicion. That is what they dealt with when they were like, what are you going to do with this? They were like, you know what? Let's use this tree. Yes. Phone call metadata was used to fill the vacuum left by the suppressed docket. But metadata cannot do investigative work, Moss, right? They can't. It cannot replace crime scene truth, ballistic integrity, witness consistency. And it certainly cannot replace a buried recommendation to charge different suspects. It can't help when it comes to that. So let's talk about why the confessions appear after the suppression of 375. Notice the timing. The confessions comes years later, after public pressure, after the investigation stalled, after the second docket was neutralized. They don't drive the case, they rescue it. And once confessions are obtained, even flawed ones, they are used to retrospectively justify the narrative shift. Backward logic. Dangerous logic also. Now, this is selective prosecution in action, most right? Everyone can see it. Selective prosecution looks like this. Evidence pointing one way, ignored. Evidence supporting another, amplified. Neutral facts, dramatized. Dangerous facts, buried. The phone calls are not the foundation of the case. They are a replacement for what the state chose not to prosecute. That is exactly what they are. Whether they want to accept it or not, that's the truth. The legal consequences the state cannot escape when it comes to this. Suppression of a docket is not cosmetic. It violates disclosure duties, fair trial rights, Section 35, investigative integrity, prosecutorial independence. And once suppression is proven, the credibility of the entire prosecution collapses because courts do not ask, is this evidence suspicious? They ask, was justice pursued honestly? That's what they do. 2 phone calls did not create this case. They were drafted to cover. They were drafted in this case, to cover the absence of truth. And the second docket, it was not weak. It was never weak. It was inconveniently removed. So it was buried. But buried evidence has a habit of resurfacing. And when it does, it doesn't just damage a case, it exposes the system. And that is exactly what happened to the entire situation. That is exactly what happened in the entire situation. Now they were left exposed. In fact, even currently, they are still being exposed in the Senzobe trial. The state, the entire situation is embarrassing. The judge is exposed, the NPA is exposed, the police officers are exposed, the entire system of judiciary, all that chain, the security cluster is sitting on. Yes, a lot is going very wrong, and it's not even funny at this point. It's not even funny, guys. Kubi. And the only person who's going to have to put an end in all of this is Judge Ratta's verdict. But because he keeps saying, if this case goes somewhere, we don't even trust he will do the right thing because all the flaws are so out there. The writing is so big in the wall, written by a hand that nobody anticipated. Mene mene tekel. It's written there. Mene mene tekel. Your time ends now, right here, right now. And none of the people that are involved are willing to admit, they are busy pushing and pushing. And the cookie is crumbling right in front of their very own eyes, but they don't care. They absolutely do not care if the cookie crumbles or not. They are busy pushing the narrative down the South Africans' throats, but the South Africans keep questioning and questioning things, and they're like, no, man, no, we are not stupid. We are not dumb. We are not going to accept this nonsense. And it keeps unfolding and unfolding. And the one person that keeps being exposed is the government of South Africa. Which side of government? Department of South African Police, the judiciary, which is the courts, the OJ, and also the NPA. All 3 of them, they are out here exposed. And it's not even funny. It's not even fun. And you know what else that is not making it funny? It's because someone from the SEPs, a trusted somebody, General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi of KZN, came out here and told the country that we are better. And these people are committing serious crimes while sitting in these positions. And now it is playing in front of everyone, and it's not looking nice. It absolutely is not looking nice. Anyway, what are your thoughts when it comes to this? Let's have a let's have a discussion on my comment section. Drop your thoughts there and let me know what you think. Thank you so much. I will see you on our next video. Bye-bye.